This is going to be our video for Unit 3, Day 10. So yesterday we started working with quadratic functions and finding the vertex, find that maximum point. And what we're going to do today is actually use what we did yesterday in order to actually solve a quadratic equation using the graph. So there's other ways to solve an equation besides factoring. That's what we focused on so far. One way we can do it is by graphing the equation and finding the x-intercepts on the graph. So x-intercepts are points where the graph crosses the x-axis. It's like y-intercepts in graphing lines. That was where line crosses the y-axis, the x-intercept crosses the x-axis. It also means the points when y equals 0. Alright, this is important because in standard form, we have 0 on one side of our equation. So we'll go through the steps of how it is that we graph a quadratic function and use that to solve an equation. So here's what we're going to solve. Solve this equation by graphing. So step 0, just like it was with factoring, we're going to put it in standard form. Here that standard form is already done for us. We can already look at this equation, see that a is 1, b is negative 2, and c is negative 3. Alright, so once it's in standard form, next thing we're going to do is we're going to find the vertex. That's what we did yesterday. So we're going to use that formula, negative b over 2a to find the x-coordinate. So here b is negative 2, so opposite of that would be positive 2 over 2 times a. A is 1, so that's 2 over 2, which is just 1. So now we take that 1, we're going to plug it back in, see what we get. We plug it back in, that'll be our y value. So it'd be 1 minus 2 minus 3. So minus 2 would be negative 1, minus 3 would be negative 4. So our vertex has coordinate 1, negative 4. So once we find the vertex, to graph this, we're going to make a table of values. We're just going to make as many points as we need till we see those x-intercepts. So with that table of values, what we're going to do is actually put our vertex right in the middle. So here my vertex is 1, negative 4, so I'm going to put x is 1, y is negative 4 right in the middle of the table. Now to start to fill the rest of the table out, I'm going to need at least 2 points on each side. So going back from 1, we would have 0, negative 1. Going up, we would have 2, and then 3. Sometimes you'll need more than that. Sometimes you won't even need that many. Alright, now the rest of this is just filling out the table of values. Alright, so to find all these different y values, we're going to be using the function that comes from that equation. X squared minus 2x minus 3. So the reason we put the vertex in the middle is this gives us a shortcut. There's symmetry between the parabola. It always has the same shape on either side. It means it has the same values on either side of the vertex. So if I have the vertex in the middle, that means I'll have the same values as 0 and 2 because they're the same distance away. also have the same values at -1 and 3 because they're the same distance away from the vertex. So I'll just pick the easiest numbers to plug in. So 0 will be the easiest number to plug in. All the x terms go away. I'm just left with -3. That'd be the same as if I plugged in 2 because of that symmetry. Right, -1 here would be easier to plug in than 3, or if you don't like working with negative numbers, you could plug in 3. 3 squared is 9, minus 2 times 3 would be 6, so 9 minus 6 is 3, and then minus 3 would be 0. It means we'd have the same value up at -1. So now we do just like we did in the second unit. So we're going to take that table of values and we're going to actually graph it. So my first point would be -1, 0, then 0, -3, then 1, -4, then 2, -3, and then last point would be 3, 0. Alright, so what we're looking for on the table, or on the graph, is y equals 0, which are the x-intercepts. So on this graph, I see I have two x-intercepts. One of them is right here at 3, 0. The other one is back here at -1, 0. So my two answers from that would be x equals 3 and x equals -1. So that seemed like a lot of work. We'll do one more where we'll just run straight through it without stopping to break down the steps every time. So this third example, this would be a good one to do graphing with the negative out front. Alright, might make it a little more difficult to do algebraically, look for factoring, things like that, so maybe this would be a good one to graph. So first thing I'll do is put it in standard form. Looking at this one, looks like it's already in standard form. I have a is -1, b is 0, and c is +1. So next thing I do is find my vertex. So I use that same formula, -b over 2a that we did in the video yesterday. My b value here is 0. So I have 0 over -2, which is just 0. Now we take the 0, plug it back in, see what I get. So 0 squared is 0, -1 times 0 is still 0, 0 plus 1 is 1. So my vertex is at 0, 1. So next step now is I'm going to make a table, x values, y values. And I'm going to start by putting that vertex right in the middle of the table. So 0 for x value, 1 for y value. Now I pick at least 2 points on either side. And if I don't get to 0, I need to keep going until I get to y equals 0. So to the left, I'd have -1, -2. To the right, I have +1, +2. Again, with this function, any numbers that are the same distance away from the vertex will give us the same value. So we're going to try and pick the ones that'll be easiest to plug in. Alright, so I'm going to start by plugging in x equals 1. Since plugging a +1 will be easier than plugging in -1. So y equals -1 squared plus 1. So 1 squared is 1, so that'd be -1 plus 1, which is 0. So that'd be the value that goes in right there, and the same value for -1. Same thing I'll plug in for 2. -2 squared plus 1 be -4 plus 1, which is -3. Now we take these points, graph them, and we're going to find our x-intercepts. So we have 0, 1, -1, 0, positive 1, 0, 2, negative 3, and negative 2, negative 3. Now we have the graph, and our two x-intercepts are right here at 1, 0, and negative 1, 0. So our two answers are positive 1 and negative 1. So again, we go over this. This is another tool you can use for solving quadratic equations. You don't have to do it this way, but if you're a more visual person, you like seeing things, you like graphing things, this might be an easier way for you to do it than factoring. So again, doing this is good practice. It also gets you to practice those skills we practiced yesterday on finding the vertex. So every time you do this, you also get a little extra practice on finding the vertex. So on the back of this sheet, there's going to be 4 problems. So if you get practice, go through, do each one, fill out your table, get your points. If you get stuck, go back, look at these 2 problems, follow the steps.